Out of absolutely nowhere, we just got over 2 minutes of brand new Modern Warfare 4 multiplayer gameplay footage and a surprise showcase of tons of weapon gameplay, including the new weapon behavior systems, including the removal of bloom, depth of field, and even gameplay of the new Apex attachments. So let's look at the footage, break it down, give you my thoughts and opinions from someone who got to play the multiplayer, and obviously get your thoughts in the comments below. So the footage begins showing two different recoil patterns on weapons. One is an LMG being shot at a wall, which also showcases some of the new muzzle changes that we'll be diving into in a moment. But then the second shot also shows the pistol, where it is literally shooting the bullets exactly where the player is aiming, giving you a little bit of a preview of the new no bloom feature, which is going to fundamentally change gunplay within Modern Warfare 4. You then get to see some side-on views of an AR as well as an LMG, and then some new gameplay of someone using a shotgun and then someone using an assault rifle running across the same Korean map that we got to see gameplay of a few weeks ago. Then get to see a few inspect animations, which is really cool, starting with this pistol. And we also learn that some of the developers actually try and mimic these in real life so that they can be as lifelike as possible in the game. We get to see it as well with an M4 assault rifle, which looks really nice. We then get a really interesting showcase, which shows the visual effects of the masking of muzzle flash, which shows what the muzzle flash looked like before, where in MW2, this muzzle flash was just obnoxious. It was all over the screen and it would actually cover the visuals of your target, so it'd make them a lot harder to see. But now in MW4, they've created this sort of like cone that goes around an enemy when you're aiming on them. So the muzzle smoke will actually go around the cone and never actually visually block what you're aiming down sight at, which is a very good change. And it has been described on the reveal of the game, but now we actually get to visually see it for our own eyes. Love to know your thoughts in the comments about this one. And then they show a really interesting demo, which pretty much calls themselves out for showing the bloom that was in MW2, where you can see the moment that the M4 is fired, there's just so much obnoxious smoke and muzzle flash, but also the fact that the gun is kicking like absolutely crazy and that the bullets are just ending up in random directions. It's never quite clear where your bullets are going to aim. And so in MW4, they've completely removed bloom, which now shows you how accurate the weapon stays, where this M4 is being shot with hip fire, and you can see from the laser where the bullets are going, and they are hitting the target precisely every single time. So the hip fire gunplay might be a little bit similar to that of Counter-Strike. I didn't quite get enough hands-on to be able to confirm that, but that's how it looks from the gameplay. And then we get to see the same again with the Magnum pistol, where it is pinpoint accurate to where the laser is firing, and even when it's shooting multiple times, you can see that it is always hitting the target fairly accurately. They then move on to talking about depth of field, which again was something that we were shown when we got to see the game early at the studio. But with depth of field, it sort of blurs the gun so that you can more focus on what's in front of you and give a more cinematic feel, because in real life, depth of field is actually used. But they noticed that people turn this setting off because when they ADS, it also blurs the actual target they're looking at, as well as their actual sight as well. So they then show this before and after to show what they've changed, where now the actual iron sight of the weapon is also blurred with the gun, so that the actual target itself is never out of focus, nor is it ever blocked by your iron sight. How big of a change this is going to make, and if people will still keep the depth of field effect on or off, remains to be seen, but it is a great improvement, as this has genuinely not been touched as a setting in like well over 10 to 15 years. We then get to see some gameplay on the snowy rooftop map that showcases the tactical sprint and what happens as the player slowly runs out of it, where the new updated tactical sprint will have your character in tac sprint, but the more they sprint, the more tired they get and the slower they get until their gun is brought back down, rather than being constantly held in that position until you just randomly stop tac sprinting. I think visually the game also looks really, really impressive from what we're seeing here. And in this next shot, we see this absolutely beefy sniper rifle, which I can tell you firsthand as a pretty slow ADS, but it's also to showcase the behavior of guns as you're going around corners, where we see two different examples of the gun sort of slanting its angle as it goes over a corner. As you approach other corners, you see here with the M4 that the gun does tilt a little bit like what we see in Rainbow Six Siege, which should help you to be a little bit more accurate, but also adds a bit more of a tactical gameplay experience. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments down below. We then get to see a more extended look at an LMG firing at a wall, but you can see that even with the recoil patterns, due to the no bloom, the bullet spread isn't as crazy as what you would first assume. Then we get a really cool gameplay clip of someone getting killed with a shotgun. Then they swap to their pistol extremely quickly, where you can have the shotgun in the left, pistol in the right, before swapping back to the shotgun and taking someone out. Then we get to see footage of a player with a sniper rifle quickly sliding, and then while still in the slide being able to ADS and quickscope a player, which I think is really cool and does show that they really have changed the movement to be a lot less sluggish than in previous Infinity Ward games. And then we get a really cool look at some Apex attachment gameplay. Now, we've already seen some of this before, but we get to see quite a lot of extended footage that we hadn't seen before, where with this weapon specifically, there are multiple throwing knives that you can pull out of the side of the gun, which is really cool. We then get to see an Apex attachment on a Magnum pistol, which turns it into a triple shot weapon with about 4 uses of it before you need to reload. And then we get to see a really cool attachment, which is like a homing missile, where you shoot it out of the side of the weapon, and as long as you ADS, that can control where the missile lands. And for multiplayer, I think that's just going to be really crazy. And then we get to see the PPSH in action, which is absolutely fantastic. And we have this underbarrel, which shoots these explosive grenade. Looks really cool. It is a bit strange to see the PPSH here in a Modern Warfare game, but it honestly feels really good to use. And then the final shot, we get to see this really cool new version of the heartbeat sensor added as an optic, where it's underneath the actual optic itself, where you can see multiple red dots on the mini-map. We get to see a shot of these akimbo fully auto pistols with a little slide in as well, which looks really cool. And then this final shot of this huge launcher being shot to destroy some barbed wire. We also get a proper look at the MW4 Gunsmith, where we can see that we have separate tabs for the Gunsmith, the appearance, and the progression of the weapon, and shows all the attachments that you can put onto one of the weapons here, which looks to be the Kilo 141, but then specifically showing the Apex attachment. But also notice in the bottom right, we actually have an official look at the Gunny system, where it's a little AI helper that can help you build a weapon based on the attachments you currently have unlocked, and then give you 3 different choices of weapon, such as a short range, a long range, or a medium range, depending on what playstyle. We then see them open the Apex attachment menu. You can see that there is 1 Apex attachment to equip here, which completely changes the ammunition type on it. And then we get to see a bunch of weapons with all of their different Apex attachments. But here we have what looks to be a shotgun, but it has this really crazy stock on the back. It almost gives me like chainsaw LMG vibes. We then see an M4 that almost turns it into a little bit of a sniper rifle. We see a Cronin attachment that adds an underbarrel guided missile launcher, which is what we saw just a moment ago, which is pretty cool. We have the Mosin Nagant marksman rifle, which I think is absolutely crazy to see in a Modern Warfare game, but we have the bayonet that you can equip. We have another marksman rifle with an Apex attachment that adds the multiple throwing knife blades under it. And then we also have this SMG here, which converts it into the PM63 SMGs with akimbo. There's a lot of OG weapons in here, which I was not expecting. Let me know what you think down below of all of this brand new multiplayer gameplay that's been shown here. And this is not the only multiplayer gameplay we're getting this week, because tomorrow live gameplay is going to debut from a festival in New York called Fanatics Fest, where the Kill Block multiplayer map, which has 500 plus variations, is going to have gameplay debuted in 3v3 and 10v10 gunfight. I'll be covering all of that here on the channel, so make sure to subscribe to not miss anything to do with Modern Warfare 4 with brand new gameplay. If you enjoyed this video, drop it a like rating. I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.